So I will start my presentation and I'll try to be in time as the other did. Thanks to all, by the way. So yeah, I'm going back to my last point in the previous presentation, the first presentation. So we have a lot of different technology solutions. We have seen a lot of different technology solutions and control solutions that can be put into place in this to operate this kind of low temperature district heating and cooling networks. Again, the main topic of all the presentation you have seen this morning was the multiple energy sources available. And then from the technological point of view, we can do it, so to say, but then the next question is, can we economically integrate these sources into the network, and which are, by the way, the sources that are more suitable from the economic point of view. And then again, at which price the utility should buy, for example, renewable heat or waste heat from different sources. And when we start to think of this, we understand that we can bump into a number of different business models, because again, we move from the third generation solution of networks, where we have a structure one-to-many, one thermal plant distributing energy to the customer, to all the customers, into we are moving to a structure where a many-to-many structures, so where many producers can provide energy to as many customers, to say. Plus again, if we use heat pumps, as in the FlexNet project, for example, the final customer needs to buy both thermal energy from the network and electricity to run the heat pump, the substation. And therefore, again, here a number of possible business models rise. So what we are trying to do in FlexNet, in parallel with the technical activities, is to work on the structuring all these possible combinations, all possible business models, and try to go through them with say some practical examples and see how thermal energy and electricity can be what the price of the different energy sources can be, how the price of the different energy sources can be decided, depending on the business case. For example, to make some examples, for example, if you are an energy producer like an industry, you can, as a producer, you can set up your to connect to the network, and then the utility would pay the thermal energy that is fed into the grid. But there are other possibilities, like when you are a data center or a supermarket. In this case, for example, we might think of the utility company directly setting up a substation to connect to the dry coolers of the building or the service, and to take energy, transfer it to the feed it into the grid, and then again it might be that the thermal energy fed into the grid is not paid by the utility, because say the supermarket or the data center, they can have a direct benefit by having lower evaporation temperatures at the dry cooler, at the condenser of the refrigeration cycles or the air conditioning cycles. On the other hand, if you are a consumer, you might buy electricity to run the heat pump by your usual energy provider, or it might be that the electricity is paid by the utility itself, and then the utility makes a price for the heat that is sold to the the final customer that is taking into consideration both thermal energy and electricity consumed. These are not what you see on the screen are not all the combinations, just a few. And by the way, some customers can play the role of a prosumer, because they can in sometime buy energy or draw energy from the network for space heating, for example, or domestic hot water preparation. But for example, residential customers or tertiary customers, they can sell waste heat out of air conditioning of the buildings during summer to the network. So actually they can play the role of the consumer or the producer depending on the time frame. And again, this say produces new combinations and new possibilities. So what we are trying to do is to basically look into what business model can be put into place, as I was saying, and to do this, we decided to approach the problem from with a top-down study. And basically, what we did is to look into how much a final customer pays. For example, in this case, for space heating, QH is the demand of the building, space heating, heating demand of the building, and the total cost for heating of the building is what you see on the right. And what we said is that when you connect to the network, the final customer cannot pay more than this reference price for heating the building. And again, when you connect to the network, the price the final customer pays is a combination of the electricity price to run the heat pumps and of the thermal energy that is taken from the network. All these numbers are known apart for the cost of the thermal energy that is taken from the network. And again, in this way, basically with this calculation, we can understand what is the maximum price the utility company managing the network can make to the final customer. Turning the equation into a graphical representation, this is what you get. The two charts represent two cases where we have a seasonal COP of the heat pumps, the customer heat pump, moving from 3.5 to 6. And again, based on the reference heating price that you read on the x-axis and on the electricity price that is represented with the lines here in the network, you can understand what is the maximum energy price to the network that the utility can apply. For example, if you have a typical European gas price of 100 euros, the actualized energy cost for heating, reference energy cost for heating, including also investment and maintenance and running costs for the gas boiler, can be valued something like 140 degrees. And then if the customer pays something like 15 euro cents per kilowatt hour to run the heat pump, then what we see is that the price for the maximum price that the utility company can apply to the customer is again in the range of 130-140 euros per megawatt hour in this case. Oops. So basically, this is the price from the utility to the customer, but then looking into how much the utility company pays to harvest and to distribute the thermal energy to the customer, then we can calculate basically what you see on the x-axis, which is the income for the utility company for the thermal energy delivered. And again, you can see that the income for the utility can range in a large span depending on the cost price, annualized cost of it. Sorry. Here we have again some parametric lines that represent cost of the heat harvested and distributed in the range of 30 to 130 euros per megawatt hour. And again, you can understand that the situation for the utility or the remuneration for the utility can range quite a lot. Therefore, next step for us was to really look into some example and understand if actual costs are in the range of 30 or in the range of 130. And here I reported a couple of those calculations. They are not exhaustive. They do not want to represent the entire European, say, scenario, but they are just, say some average solutions, average scenarios that can be found over Europe. Then anybody, again, the idea of this presentation is to show a methodology. Then everybody should apply his own number or her own number to the calculation. So again, here we look into the situation where we have a medium-sized supermarket with a refrigeration cycle that waste into the environment 150 kilowatts. And again, the idea here would be to have a substation, including a high heat pump, connected directly in parallel to the dry coolers of the refrigeration cycle and raising the temperature from 25 to 40 degrees. And then this 40 degrees, thermal energy is fed into the grid. Here, from the financial point of view, the investment is borne by the utility company. So there's no economic burden on the supermarket. In this calculation, what we do is to consider something like 1,500 euros per kilowatt hour for the substation with a capacity of 150 kilowatts, as I said, which results in an investment cost of around 225,000 euros, and which corresponds again over 20 years to an annualized investment of around 320,000 euros. And here again, we try to draw two scenarios. One in which the refrigeration cycle works full speed or full power, full capacity for 3,000 hours a year, and the other, scenario where the refrigeration cycle works at rated capacity again for 6,000 hours. For you to know, refrigeration cycles for healthiness reasons, they operate full speed almost 24 hours 7 if there is no wise optimized management of the thermal or the electric consumption in the supermarket. Here we consider a seasonal COP of 6 for the heat pump, injecting or feeding thermal energy into the network, and a cost of the electricity paid by the utility, once again, to run the substation of 10 euro cent per kilowatt hour, or 100 euros per megawatt hour. Basically, the cost of energy following the annualized cost of energy following this is in the range of 1836 euros with respect to the investment only. And again, it is around 17 euros for what concerns the electricity consumption, coming from a seasonal COP of 6, as I showed you before. Therefore, if we sum up the two contributions, so the investment cost and electricity cost, the overall cost, the total cost for the thermal energy harvested into the network is in the range of 35 to 52 euros per megawatt hour. So again, something which is in the range of typical thermal energies generated by gas boilers over Europe. Indeed, if you do not need to use a heat pump to feed thermal energy into the network, you operate with a better performance. And this could be done if, again, the heat from the dry cooler is taken at 30 degrees instead of 20 or 25. And if the network operates at lower temperatures, for example, instead of operating at 20, 25 degrees, if the network operates at 10, 15 degrees, then you can feed directly thermal energy directly into the network with an heat exchanger without any heat pump in between. And then the investment cost, the capital cost is much lower, and the seasonal COP, say calculated in this case as the thermal energy divided by the pump's consumption, electricity consumption, is much higher, in the range of 15-20 easily. And then, as you can understand, the total cost of it is in the range of 15 to 20 euros per megawatt hour, as compared to 35, 52 of the case before. This said, basically, once we, if we come back to the chart before, or to the charts before, the incomes for the utility company is in the range of, again, 90 to 100 euros per megawatt hour. We didn't look into the renewable here, but for example, if we look only to solar district heating cases, in their market they have cost of the solar energy fed into the grid, into the network, in the range of 3 to 4 euro cents per kilowatt hour, so 30 to 40 euros per megawatt hour, which is again in the range of the numbers of the values that I showed you right before. We are trying to understand even say more complicated solutions for integrating solar energy, in which we use high temperature solar and try to produce both thermal energy and electricity via an ORC unit. We are actually working now on defining what are the costs in this more complicated, the energy for the cost for the energy generation for these more complicated solutions. This would be a very rewarding, say, solution for utilities, but actually this is not the entire story, because this takes into consideration only what is needed to harvest the energy into the network, but does not include what is needed to deliver energy to the customer. And in this case, as the customer substation uses a heat pump and a storage, the capital cost, the initial capital cost is much higher compared to traditional district heating substations. And as you can see here, here we have another example with a small multifamily house with 10 apartments, fitted with a specific heating consumption in the range of 50 kilowatt hours, space heating consumption in the range of 50 kilowatt hours per square meter a year. And again, what we do is to basically rise the temperature from the network level in the range of 20 degrees to up to 50 degrees for domestic hot water purposes. Again, here some numbers: 50,000 euros the initial capital cost for the building, which is around 5,000 euros per dwelling, and the annualized investment in the range of 81,000 euros. Seasonal COP 5, and in this case we accounted for the final customers paying the electricity bill separately from the thermal energy taken from the network. Without going into the details, the final annualized investment cost for the connection of the network of the multifamily house to the network falls in the range of 70 euros per megawatt hour, and this has to be added to the cost for harvesting thermal energy. And again, if we come back to the graphical representation, we start from this position here, only when taking into consideration only the energy harvested. And if we cut 70 euros, basically the 70 euros I showed you in the previous slide, then the incomes for the utility company drop down to these kind of levels, which is again in the range of 22, 30, 40 euros per megawatt hour sold to each of the final customer. Again, in this simulation, in this scenario that I showed, we consider that the electricity is paid at a relative high price by the final customers, but in the end it might be that the utility pays for the electricity, and then the electricity price is better, is much better than this. For example, in the Netherlands, I know that they have high users or large users electricity prices in the range of 5 or 50 euros per megawatt hours, and then we would move up to here, and then basically the remuneration of the investment would shift left in this on this chart in the range of 50 euros per megawatt hour sold. So again, as I said before, this is not a full, say, a full picture of what could happen in Europe. It doesn't mean it was not the meaning or the aim of the presentation. The idea was to show you the methodology we are using to calculate the financials of the network and the business models and possible business models for this kind of networks, and to show you some ranges in terms of cost and prices to be applied to the thermal energy sold. And here are some conclusions, which is basically that gathering waste heat and renewables is economically viable for this kind of networks. Obviously, better performances are obtained if the utility companies paid all the electricity consumption, because the utility can have lower electricity prices. Obviously, depending on the temperature level of the energy source, the cost of the energy made available can vary largely, as you can see could see on this chart. And again, one main good proposition of this kind of solution is that since we need limited investment costs for each of the customers, which are in the range I showed you of some 100,000 euros, then this kind of there's no need to have a long-term investment plan for the utility company to set up a large thermal plant, as in third generation solutions. And again, the single investment can be borne by the single customers even. We can think of a solution, again, as I said before, of a supermarket paying for buying the substation and installing the substation to connect to the network, and then a utility company that remunerates the supermarket for the thermal energy that is fed into the grid, into the network again. What I showed you is an analysis that is being used for the decision-making process, but the idea is to use the same analysis for decision makers to decide on eventual incentives that can, say, push the technology on the market, even though we saw that it is not in principle needed. And again, as we saw before, in both control, presentations, we need to, in this kind of, networks, we need to decouple somehow the energy production and utilization to the energy prices. And again, these kind of tools, could be very useful to be used directly into the optimization process of the control strategy. That's it from my side.